go ahead and get started. But first and foremost, as we always discuss, this is about community. So everything we're building on is how we utilize ourselves to be a greater self, right? Because without community, when you're tempted to do things as an individual, you also have that individual power, right? And that you're actually cutting yourself off from the benefits that are afforded to you, right? So a lot of times, even within a family, you don't get, if a family was working together, it changes the whole dynamics of everything. But we wind up in our own journeys, right? Trying to do our own thing, and then we're also reducing our own ability to make things happen. And so a lot of the things we've been discussing was about what we declare, how we convey it, how we disseminate it, or how we put it into practice. And so from the very beginning, we've been talking about whatever you have the audacity to declare, you will achieve. And some of that is subconscious, things that you've learned, prior to 7, and then that stuff being locked into you as who and what you are, right? And so what happens is what you plan to achieve might be to not depend on somebody else. That might be what's going on in the back of your mind. And so now you try to do everything to not depend on others, but guess what that leads to? What does that lead to? Yeah. But at the same time, how does that work with relationships? If in my mind, say that again.
One-sided.
One-sided in what way?
In ways where they're benefiting more than
Okay. So if I say that I don't want to depend on other people, how am I going to enter into our relationship? I don't care what kind of relationship.
Isolated.
Isolated. So am I going to actually share with you
No.
what could even be a benefit for me? Right? And so whatever I have the audacity to declare, if you declare yourself, I'm going to be independent. I'm going to be, on my own. I'm going to make this work by myself. What kind of energy, just think about it. What kind of energy is that actually generating?
It's a selfish energy.
Yeah. Self-centered. Yeah. And so the problem with that is, now when I come to you, we're not going to communicate in a way that's going to be betterment for everybody. And the way that I use my intellect, the way that I manage my emotions and everything else is going to be based off of making that a reality. And by the time we're 7, all of us have these rules of engagement that we've learned. However you had to survive in your environment, right? If I learned that people aren't trustworthy, that becomes part of your subconscious. And so you go through life and instead of building healthy relationships, I'm saying we're going to be together forever. However, I'm going to treat you at a distance. Right? And so people go into relationships that sound funny, but that's what people do. So I'm going to give you a facade about me, but we're supposed to be building a life together. Right? And so if I'm sitting there saying people aren't trustworthy, now that's a part of you. So part of declaring my truth wouldn't be about getting rid of that. Why wouldn't we want to get rid of that if it's already part of your subconscious? Why wouldn't we want to just get rid of that people aren't trustworthy? Why wouldn't we?
Can't build with people.
Okay, that's one way. Think about it as your human functioning.
We're here to connect.
We're here to connect, but it's already a habit. Right? The most powerful thing in a human being is your subconscious and the things that have become a habit. Think about anything that you wanted to do that you already have what you might call a bad habit doing. Is it easy to stop? But you're thinking that you should do better, right? But you can't stop. People want to lose weight. It's the hardest thing for people to do because it's already a part of you, the way that you do things. So until you put it into practice, it's not going to change. So we don't want to change the fact that your mind has set in it that people are untrustworthy. People can't be trusted. We don't want to change that. We want to change your perception. Because then you're going to have to relearn. All we're going to do is reuse. So now people must meet me at a stage of unity and love before I give them myself. Right? That's from the same piece. People are untrustworthy. But instead of activating from that, and whenever I meet you, I'm going to keep you at a distance. right? So instead of doing that, I'm gonna say, look, let's say people shouldn't get the best of me until they demonstrate that we can meet at a stage of unity. That's the same thing. I'm still saying this person is trustworthy, but the way that I go about it is going to change it. And these are the principles that's at the root of we-ology. We have to change the way that we see our world, right? And there's some people who aren't going to be good for you. You don't have to say anything to them. When you drive down the street, you don't speak to everybody you see. When you're in your car passing, you don't hit the brakes. Hey, how y'all doing today? You don't, right? You stay on your path. If somebody gets in front of you, then you might greet them, and to identify if the divinity in them is supposed to mate with the divinity in you. Right? But we often meet people with my pain. So I'm going to try to build a relationship with you through my pain. So I meet you with my discomfort. Then I'm wondering why our relationships don't work. Friends or whatever. I haven't been loyal to myself, but I'm asking you to be loyal to me. You understand? So whatever you have the audacity to declare, you will achieve. And so all we've been talking about these last 3 weeks, we're starting to look at, what do you declare? How are you declaring it? Are you worthy for what you say you want in your life? Think about that. Are you worthy for what you say you want in your life? What does that mean, really? What is that asking you?
Are you entitled to what you want?
Okay.
But also you attract what you are.
Okay. Tell me more about that.
Like, just like you were saying, as far as you creating like these friendships and you're not being loyal to yourself, but you expect somebody to be loyal. You can't expect somebody to be loyal if you're not treating yourself that treatment.
Sure. You want somebody else to be responsible for what you need.
Exactly. And it's kind of like law of attraction.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to come back to that entitled piece because that's a key note in what we're dealing with. Right? So are you worthy for the success that you say you want? Or does it not matter to you? You just, whatever life gives me, that's what I'm going to take. Right? Is that what we're going to do?
Definitely.
So they say, if the world gives you lemons, you're supposed to do what?
Make lemons. What if you want orange juice?
Yeah. No, I'm going to plant the seeds.
Right, there you go.
Because I'm limited. I might make one piece of lemonade, but I'm going to take the seeds. You understand? And I'm going to grow something. But we don't meet each other at that growth stage. We don't plant seeds in each other. Right? I don't plant my seed of passion inside of you. I come to you with my guard up. Right? Because I've learned that I have to protect myself. However you came about learning it. Right? And we discussed this last week. The first time you said to yourself, right? Regardless of how you were raised by your caregivers, the very first time you said to yourself, I don't want this. I need better. I want more. I want different. The moment you said that, who's ever treated you the way that you didn't want to be treated, raised you in a way that you didn't want to be raised, was let off the hook. You can feel however you want to feel about them, but they're off the hook. Because you just recognize that there's a different flow. And that responsibility became yours. Whatever I have the audacity to declare, I will achieve. So at that point, if I declared that, you know what, it don't matter, man, I'm just going to go about doing whatever I do. I just declared to myself that my life really doesn't matter. I'm looking for pockets of joy, pockets of fun. I'm not looking for a system, which happiness is. Happiness is a system. So you can go through adversity. You can go through stress and still be in a state of happiness. Right? So now, if I think that I am worthy for the success, or I'm worthy to be the person that I see myself as, what's the next step? If I actually came to the realization that I am worthy to be the person that I want to be, as we started, this whole series, I dare to get what I command. So if you think that you are worthy, if you feel like you are worthy, what's the next step?
You gotta pour into
You
action.
gotta put the work in.
Put the work in, pour into yourself. What else? I see that thought right on the tip of your tongue.
I said action.
Action, there we go. So now what are those things? Going back to that entitlement. So do I feel entitled to my worthiness? Do I feel entitled to get my success?
You should have that level of confidence.
All right. So that goes right back to, you mentioned action, pouring into yourself. And you mentioned doing the work, right? So now, what does that mean? Those are all words. If it was that simple, everybody already had it figured out. Everybody go through their social media to get all the little positive affirmations each day. They start their day, they read it, they get to work and be like, "Who the hell are you looking at? What's your problem?" You're right. We sit there getting all of these words, but once again, our subconscious is creating our reality. You see? So your rules of engagement that you might not have ever looked back at since you were 7 years of age is guiding the way you move through your consciousness. So that first step becomes, yes, doing the work, pouring into yourself, action, but that action has to entail mining your mind for the jewels of your consciousness. Because all of us are humans with the direct link to the most powerful source in existence within you. And there's nothing between that. Your life is a representation of you as the priest of that divine vessel that is you. And are you treating your vessel as if it is sacred? This isn't about religion. This is about the fact that the source of existence is inside everything. Do you accept that it's inside of you? Do we accept that the source of divine that created all things is inside of you? Right? So the definition of temple is a building that houses, worships, and everything that's centered around the source or centered around God. Right? So even if you're doing bad to yourself, that's within the capacity of the source of it all. That's you using your will against yourself. You are the devil that you're trying to avoid. Think about that. Anybody that does something outside of you had to do so from your permission, for the most part. Right? Not talking about like random violence, but anybody that's around you, for the most part, had to do it based upon what you taught them to do to you. I don't like the way my friend treat me. Yeah, well, you taught her that it was okay to do what she does to you. Did you stop it the first time it was said? No. So this person just doing what you made acceptable. She always trying to get over on me. Do you allow her? Yes, but I don't want her to think that I don't know what she's doing. What does that mean? Right? And so we enable the problems that we experience. So going right back to whatever plan, whatever you have the audacity to declare, you will achieve. So now I declare that I'm going to live my truth. We talked about that truth. Tap it into that center being. What is your motive? Right? And so even before we go into that, if you're saying that, I'm asking you, are you worthy for the success you say you want? Are you worthy for it? Inside of that is asking you, does your living matter? Does your living matter? Of course. And that's what everyone will say, of course. And I say, well, what are you living for? What are you living for? And each person have their own unique interpretation of that. But what are you living for? Now, if I was to sit here and have an observer witness what you do for 30 days, you can't interact with the observer. It's nothing you can say, nothing you can do to influence the observer. The observer is just going to take notes, going to track what you do for 30 days. And then that observer is going to say, this is what this person's life is about.
Based on what they see.
Yeah. How you use your temple. And the way that you say that what you're worthy for, if we take what you say you want in your life, and then I take that observer and look at their report, are they going to be the same?
No. It's not.
So we go back to what would be that first step to once you declare that you're going to live your truth. What's that first step now? What's that first step?
Reprogramming the subconscious.
Reprogram your subconscious, acting upon it. But what will I act upon?
Sometimes it takes people life and death to act on
True. But what if I said that every moment is life and death?
it. Yeah, because everything you do is.
There's nothing closer to you. We talked about the Most High, or the source of existence. But death is also as close to you as life is. You understand? It can click in, click out, right away. So we're always at the point of life and death. If we look at life as the constructive aspect of ourselves, we're building something, and death being the destruction of something. So now we come back to what you said, and sometimes it takes life or death. Well, what is your next step? If we're looking at life from constructing, growing, and we're looking at death from the ending, cessation, or stopping of something. So now how can we empower ourselves from life and death in that way? Yeah. But it starts with that. Right. That inner community. The different aspects of you. So I got to start with that center being. What is my motive? In order for me to align the person that I want to be with, if somebody observed me, and I want to be observed as making how I see myself, my reality, right? In order for me to get these on the same page, I have to start with my center being. What is my motive? Right? And everything that I bring to you guys are things I can take you to, right? So we got a shop, growth shop and stuff, in order for you to personalize all of these pieces. But for our minds to wrap around it, I need to bring the person that I see myself as and the person that I disseminate into the world on the same page. Once again, that's center being. I got to get my motive for who I am in order. I got to how I'm going to convey myself, how I'm going to exist as, the what of my life, so that my who and my what I am is together, so that I'm conveying. So I got to get my values. I got to look at my personal values. Not just don't steal, don't. No. What is my value of self-direction? Where am I taking myself? Where do I want to go? How do I align my GPS so that I can mentally, emotionally, and behaviorally get to where I want to go? So now you start to look at mining your mind for the jewels of your consciousness. You have to create your boundary on how I'm going to use my consciousness. And your truth is inside this boundary. Your liberation, your liberty is inside. Right? And so and also the center of you, which allows you to change. That's that transmutation we talked about once before. How I transmute. Because I have that at the source of me, my will, my ability to create, my ability to make things happen, right? From the intellectual, mental point to transmute, to change things is at the root of all of this. Because when you got to that point, you say, you know what? I want different from what my caregiver is giving me. I want different from what everybody around me is doing. That was that center you, that will to want more, to want different, to be more, to be different. Starts to radiate. And so inside of you creating how you're going to use your consciousness inside of this as well is going to be that human interruptive power to your empowerment. Right? What does that mean? That means that inside of you, you've learned negative self-talk. You've learned anxiety. You've learned self-doubt. That's going to be inside of here. And so those tools, and when you start to get your truth aligned, is going to entail when you're minding your mind for the jewels of your soul, right? And you're inside of this boundary. You're going to have to know, how am I managing, coming from the outside in, from the inner outside part of your boundary, how am I managing my imagination in order to align with my motive? Because your imagination, the things that you imagine, also brings a lot of thoughts. And if that negative self-talk gets in the way, if I imagine that I should be doing better than I'm doing now, right? But I'm not doing anything towards it, what does that kick in? What would that kick in? If I imagine that I could be doing better. I put that in my imagination, things that I could do that I'm not doing. How does that impact you?
It definitely leaves you stagnated. You will not grow.
It blurs your vision from the path you take.
Yeah. So now I'm using my imagination against me. There's nobody outside doing that. People outside of you are selling things. But if you already know what you need, where you're going, where you are, what you need, how to fulfill your values, then you can pick and choose what is for you. Right? So now, if I'm imagining better, I'm not doing anything to it. Now my emotions, I never get things right. Man, I'll never get there. Man, if so-and-so, now I start getting to blaming. If I didn't have to worry about so-and-so, if I had this, if I had what so-and-so had, now we start playing on games on our mind to not do. So whenever we put somebody on the pedestal, that's so that we don't have to do the work. Oh, Jay-Z just had, things work for him in his favor. So I don't have to do the work to get to my level. And so now I have to manage my imagination based upon my purpose. I have to manage my self-awareness. Now, once again, what if my self-awareness is that I want to see myself a certain kind of way? However, everything that my relationships don't work. I'm not doing what I want to do for a living, right? So now what happens? As I'm attempting to manage my self-awareness, I'm having thoughts of negative visions of what I'm not doing. At the same time, my self-awareness is, why am I not doing these other things? So-and-so is doing it. Why can't I do it? So how is that going to impact your emotion?
It could cause you to have emotions that will be detrimental to what you're trying to lower.
Yeah.
When you say this,
they got something that you don't got.
Yeah.
And that causes you to be a hater.
Yeah.
Because you don't get it. And it's just a snowball.
For sure. Yeah. And who's doing this?
It's yourself.
Yourself. You are diminishing the divinity inside of you.
What you got is
What if I don't know what I have?
yeah.
See, because the reason why I'm doing it is because I don't know what I have. Right? So let's think about it. I am connected to everything. The source of everything. I am directly linked to it.
I know you said spiritual don't got nothing to do with it, but it kind of.
When did I say that?
No, you said religion.
Woo! You should have walked out when I said that.
Right, you said religion. Religion didn't have to do with that. Okay, let me back up. But that's when the spiritual part comes into play.
Right.
Because some people,
They can be spiritual but not religious. They don't,
Right.
believe in certain things, but are very spiritual and believe in expecting like karma or things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So-
then you got some people like me, like just now. My dreams to have a coffee shop.
Okay.
A coffee shop.
Okay.
Now I done wrote this down about having a coffee shop. I done put my whole blueprint down.
Okay.
Okay? And
The black print, got it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then I done ran across somebody that gave me a coffee pot.
Okay.
Now, when I got the coffee pot yesterday, I done forgot. I done wrote this down in my book. So I looked at my book and I said, damn, I just got a coffee pot. And I do want a coffee shop, so this is my time to experiment now. Boom. But then, domino effect, something bad just happened. So like, that's just the universe, I guess.
What if I said there's no such thing as bad things?
Nah, what just happened? Well, it depends, but yeah, it will be a distraction.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not to cut your wisdom, but something that he said last week, which was very profound to me, is something he said, existence is based off of challenges. Right? So as soon as you put something into action, put something into the universe, there's going to be a lot of obstacles that are going to come your way to see if you're going to be resilient enough to stay on that path to achieving.
So that's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
Stop you.
Especially if that's something you know you're like really passionate and pursuing.
Yeah.
And that's your calling. So.
But here's the deal, right? Now when we use spirit, right? We were talking about this earlier. You got the spiritual expression and you have a spiritual impression. Okay? I'm going to get to that in a second. If I don't come back to it, remind me. And that's why I wanted to say it up front. But what happens is the way that you use yourself, the divine in you says that's what you want to do. That's why you create habits. So once you truly infuse your being into this coffee shop to where you had a vision, and in that vision is you. And so now your emotions are aligned with it, your intellect's aligned with it, your ability to make things happen is aligned with it. So now what happens is you are radiating that. So that part of you is now you're able to connect. As we talked about those soulmates, the passion in me is to build a relationship with the passion in you. Not my pain to pain, right? So my ability to achieve is going to build a relationship with your ability
So why
to
they say
achieve.
hurt people attract hurt people?
Now, that's you misusing the pain you've been using on yourself. Right? So I don't want to see other people happy.
How is it misuse if you're trying to get away from it?
You know why you're misusing it? Because you are creating poor relationships when you really want somebody to grab you and hold you, let you know that this is going to be all right. I want somebody to care about what I'm doing. I need people.
But some people use it very
See, that's the part I was saying. Now, how can people use it against you?
It's like I give you this, but I'm gonna do this to you. Or I give you this, but I'm still gonna do
This was the third or fourth time that you allowed that to happen, that you referred to the problem as.
Is it like,
You understand? Right? And so what happens is now, hey, people are going to misuse you. But they might be only one time. It should only be one time. Because they just taught you.
this. I mean, yeah, then people tell you believe that people change.
Now recognize, nothing you said I.
I mean,
You're using information that doesn't work for you.
yeah, but I want to believe it. Like you know how like people say, "Oh, don't give up on love because love is still always
Right.
out there." But then you just get hurt again, then
Yeah.
hurt again, then hurt again. So you're like, "Oh, you know what? Forget this. I'm just done with everything."
Okay, let me explain it this way. Spiritual expression, right? Your spiritual expression is how you bring your truth from you, okay? And that first truth is how I use my imagination. If I imagine being in love and what that love looks like, now I'm going to manage my self-awareness. What do I need in order to make that love a reality? What do I have to listen to and listen for me to get to that love? How must I interact with other people in order for me to get this love? And there's more to go into that. But now it comes into your conscience in terms of that spiritual expression. So now if I can't articulate, I can't describe, I can't write it out how my conscience works for me, then I can't use it to my advantage. And so even if I make a choice and it's not the result I want, mistakes, correction, success. Success is that progressive realization of your most worthy idea and ideals.